Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we have someone with us who I think I have every single year. At least we have the fantabulous Brian Basilico on as a guest. I think, Brian, you are actually the person who has appeared on the program just second to me. And it's because you have such fabulous information, and I always love having our chats. So welcome back.
I am so honored that I have that distinction of being your most frequent guest. Yeah, so that makes me a frequent flyer, doesn't it?
This is true.
But I love coming on your show because it's so much fun. I really do. The interviews are fun.
We do. We always have such a great chat, and people always tell me that they learn a lot from it. So, I guess that's the important thing too.
That's the whole point, right?
Yeah. Okay, so, for those who don't know you, let me tell them just a little bit about you. So Brian Basilico is the award-winning author of the best-selling book, It's Not About You, It's About Bacon, Relationship Marketing in a Social Media World, and his latest book, Toilet Paper Math. He was honored as one of the top marketers to follow in 2018. Brian is an online marketing strategist with over 40 years of marketing experience and the owner of an award-winning internet marketing company, B2b Interactive Marketing, Inc. He is world-renowned for his LinkedIn training and innovative content marketing strategies, and was one of the first 1,000 people to join the social media network in 2004. I've been trying to figure out when I joined. It was somewhere right around there.
Mm-hmm.
Brian is a syndicated blogger, podcaster, and a sought-after guest expert, featured in Entrepreneur and Inc. magazines. With over 600 episodes, his show, The Bacon Podcast, is ranked as one of the top 100 marketing podcasts on iTunes and was also recognized by Inc. magazine as one of their top 35 business podcasts. So again, Brian, welcome back.
Thank you. And you could tell that's old because I know you and me.
600. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say
700.
One of the things you and me were in sync. We've got our things aligned, and I know you're hitting close to 750. I'm hitting close to 750 right now too. Yep. So
you're actually 738.
There you go.
I know. So such fun. Well, I wanted to talk to you in this new year, because marketing, sales, business, oh my heavens, it is still so wonkadoodle because of the pandemic. We're still trying to figure out what's going on. I don't know that we're ever going to figure it out because we're going to have, variation, whatever, as long as we live. But one of the things, and we mentioned this in your bio, is LinkedIn. So talk to us about how we should be using LinkedIn to market our businesses better.
Okay. Before we do that, I want to kind of examine the three core problems that everybody faced from 2020 to 2021 and into today. And all of these things are still there. So problem number one is, how do we get our messages out? How do we market, right? And the biggest problem with that is that people are moving, right? People are moving from place to place to place. So you may have people in your CRM, you go to call them and they're not there because of one of two reasons. Either they left the company and moved on to another company, actually maybe three. The company might have shut down, or they're working from home and the contact information changed.
Their phone is just ringing into Never Never Land on their desk.
Exactly right. So that's a problem of trying to find people, and that's one of the places where LinkedIn helps, is LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to connect with them based on a platform, just like Facebook would, but LinkedIn's more B2B, it's more business-based. Problem number two is the supply chain issue. It's what I call the thinning straw. The thinning straw means that, yeah, we're trying to squeeze more into that tight pipeline. And I equate it to trying to put an elephant on an airplane. Yes, you could fit an an elephant on an airplane, but it's going to take you longer to do it than a person.
Right.
And getting it off's a whole nother challenge, right? So it's trying to get the products out there that we have and deliver them is one of the biggest challenges, right? So, what do we sell? What do we sell to people that we can actually deliver? I've had a lot of my customers come back to me and say, hey, we got to stop selling, X, like labels. We can't get paper. We can't get labels. We can't do this. The prices are going up, right? So the question I always ask my clients is, okay, if you can't sell those, what can you sell, right? And how do you focus on that? And then the third part of that is, who do we sell to? So not only did people move and leave companies, but the biggest problem is that, a lot of people, especially when the pandemic hit and they started losing customers, everybody was beating each other up looking for leads, right? They're all looking for, hey, we got to find new people, hot bodies, with warm credit cards to buy our stuff. And so the problem is everybody is pounding each other. And so those three problems combined, number one, how do we sell? What do we sell, and who do we sell to, is why LinkedIn is such a great platform. And the reason is because you can connect up with people. When you connect up with them, there are ways that you can communicate with them that you can't on a lot of other platforms. And that is direct messenger. They subscribe to newsletters. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do with it. So that's one of the, as we sit down and lay the foundation for what we're talking about today, that's why I think it's so important. So, ask yourself those questions, how are we going to sell? Well, I think LinkedIn's a great platform to do that. What are we going to sell? How do I focus on the things I can deliver and get people interested in that? And then who do we sell to? I'm going to tell everybody right now, we all hate the connect and pitch, right? We get it all the time. I got one for you that happened yesterday. I think you'll really, really like. Okay. So I was on this group, and our mutual friend PJ invited me to this big group based out of New York, and there's about 100 people on this thing. And one of the guys, I had two people reach out to me, one connected on LinkedIn, the other guy sent me an email, say, hey, I saw you on there, let's connect up, here's my calendar, let's book a time. So I booked the time with him, and I, for some reason I got busy, client stuff. It's wonky right now. Everybody's wonky. And I ended up showing up to the meeting late.
Oops.
And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, here's the deal. Why don't we just, it's my fault. I apologize. I'm wide open Thursday, Friday. Let's find another time so we could sit down and have a real convo. He says, no, that's okay. It's not a big deal. The 5 minutes is more than enough. I got a chance to eat lunch and it's a great day, blah, blah, blah. And then he sends me an email afterwards that says, by the way, if you want to come speak to my Rotary, send me the info and then fill in these blanks so that you can tell me about your business. And here's my business. And here's how you can promote me.
Oh,
so
he was being helpful.
Yes, right. Exactly. In 5 minutes, what he didn't care about meeting me. That's basically what it said. He didn't care whether he talked to me or not. All he wanted to do was the opportunity to send me his talking points so I could sell his business. Okay, so and I know that's called a connect and pitch. It comes in many flavors, right? But that was a unique one. I actually emailed him back and I said, so tell me, how is this working for you? How many do you do? I was actively asking him. He says, I do, between 5 to 10 a month. I said, okay, so out of those, 20 to 40 meetings that you have, how successful are you with it? I'm just like trying to prime the pump with him, but also, it's good intelligence to know this guy's doing it.
If it works.
yeah, right. But the key thing that you can do in LinkedIn is what happens, you get these connect and pitches, and you can see them all the time. And the telltale ones for me being in, the web development business, the marketing business, is somebody from India, who works at an SEO company who connects up with me.
Right.
Exactly what they're going to do, right? They don't want to follow you. They want to have a relationship with you. They just want to connect and pitch. So the key thing that you don't want to do is try to use LinkedIn as a lead program. It's a relationship program, right? So how do you form relationships? That's really what the whole premise of everything that we do. My first book, it's not about you, it's about bacon. The subtitle is Relationship Marketing in the Social Media World. Book number 2 is the Bacon System. And it's a system about how to create content to build better relationships. And then Toilet Paper Math takes it to the third realm. And that is, how do you do it in the B2b world, right? So here's the way I look at it. If you want to use LinkedIn, especially now, all right, the way that the atmosphere is, because everybody, they've changed it so people can either follow you or they can connect with you, right?
Right.
And so I suggest that if you have an interest in somebody, you should connect with them. Don't just follow them, because connecting with somebody gives you a better opportunity to have that conversation.
You follow Richard Branson, and because they're not going to connect with you, but they might have some good content.
Exactly, right? So, but the key thing is that imagine somebody trying to do the same thing with you. So the first thing that I think people should do is pick up the phone and dial Deb Career, or go to debcareer.com or LinkedIn for C-Suite or whatever it is. And the reason I suggest that is because you're the key to making this work. And the reason you're the key to make this work is there are two things that you do that I think that everybody should be doing. Okay, number one, you should get a personal review, a second set of eyes on your own profile to see how it looks to somebody else. Because here's the thing, we are so terrible at seeing the forest from the trees.
Right.
I love that concept. Everybody says, what does that mean? What does forest from the trees mean? Well, you're so busy looking at a tree that you can't see all the other trees around you. And what we tend to do is look at our own. So in the process, I know we'll talk about my ebook later that I wrote for my customers. But in the process of doing that, I wrote it and then I put it in front of a writer, and the writer rewrote it and I sent it back, and I sent it to a whole bunch of other people. I slowed down. It took me 3 months to do this, but I put it in front of a whole bunch of people, and they all came back with different perspectives on it. A sales guy looked at it differently. A marketing person looked at it differently. You looked at it differently, right? And everybody came back with different feedback. And what that told me is how they read what I was trying to say.
Right.
And it didn't resonate with everybody the same way. So then I polished it again, and I sent it out, and I got feedback again. And by the third rendition, I'm actually at rendition 3.7 right now, and it's still not done. But 3.7 was good enough to put out to the world. But the key thing is that by getting everybody's perspective on it, it made it better for the end reader to want to read it, right? It spoke to them better. So that's the same thing everybody should do with their profile. So tell me, when you go in and do a profile, I'm going to turn the tables and interview you now. When you go look at somebody's profile, what are the things that you notice the most? What do you see more often than not?
The missing information, I think, is probably the big thing. First of all, I don't even look at somebody's profile if they don't have a picture. And it needs to be a current picture, which I'll admit, especially for women, is sometimes a little tricky because, sometimes we frequently change our hair color, style, all of those things. Yes. And so, it needs to be a current picture. I tell people, if I have never met you, I should be able to look at your photo in LinkedIn and walk up to you in a crowded room.
But right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. And now we're not doing that, but I should be able to pick you out of the Zoom lineup. But and then they don't take advantage of the cover image, that big billboard behind somebody's head. They also don't have a good headline. And it's interesting. I get a kick out of people's headlines because I'm an old PR person. And so headlines matter. You have a headline that people read, and that's where they determine, do we want to read more or go to the next person or the next article. And so, the people still are using the default of what their current job title is. Who cares? I don't care that you're the president of Acme Company. Doesn't matter to me in the slightest. Right. And so I want to know what that headline is. And that shouldn't be your sales pitch. It shouldn't have your email address, your contact information, all of those various things. It should be a headline. It should be designed to generate interest so that people go, ooh, tell me more.
Right.
And then when you start going through the profiles, I always tell people, it doesn't matter whose I read, unless it's somebody like yours who uses LinkedIn so much. I almost always tell some people more. You need more. They'll put like 2 sentences for experience or nothing, or for their about section. Some people don't even fill it out. And, that's where you want to use as much of the allowed number of characters as possible. Suck people in with that content. And then it's exactly like you said, you need other people to read it. First of all, it's really hard to write about ourselves. I mean,
Yes.
it's just, and unless we're an egomaniac, and then it's going to be written poorly. But it's very hard to read about or to write about ourselves. So you want someone else to help you with that. Yeah.
I have a question, a tomato question. Are you a first person or a third person writer of people's profiles?
I went to third person for a while, and because that was kind of the trend. So what we're talking about is the profile would say Deb Creer does such and such and so and so. First person would say I have done. And it's funny because you look at some of the big profiles and they're third person. So to me, that shows that it was very clearly written by someone else. So It is saying Bill Gates did yada, yada, yada. To me, you want it to be like you're talking to that person. And it is awfully pretentious if I were to say, well, Deb Creer does such and such, and Deb Creer does that. No, I'm going to say, I did this, I did that. I am experienced in. And so I do prefer first person.
And that's
fine. I think it's just more personal. And that comes back to exactly what you were saying. It's relationship building. Right. Do you want to get to know somebody who right off the bat is pretentious? And we've all been on dates with people like that, right? Might have been a long time ago, but and you're like, okay, no, no, not doing that. But when you want to see them again or be friends with them or, all those things, you want the warm fuzzies. And the warm fuzzies come from saying, I do, I love, all of those various things.
And I agree 100% and all of that stuff. And I think one of the things is there are eye maps and heat maps and things like that. You don't necessarily get it on LinkedIn, but the key thing is the first thing that people look at is your face. The next thing they look at is the cover. And then they look at your title. Usually they go in that circle. And then if it's intriguing enough, they will scroll down, right? And one of the other things that a lot of people do not utilize is featured content. Featured content should be the specific things that you want people to click on to get more information about you that is consumable, right? It could be a video, could be an ebook, could be an article, could be something like that. You want to have something in there. Again, it's getting them to take that train. If somebody makes it down to your volunteer positions, that means they're super interested in you. Right.
They like me. They really like me.
But even those should be interesting, right? I volunteered for United Way. I was on their board for years. Right. Why would I not want to put that in there? Why would I not want every single job I've ever had, right? Even if you worked at a McDonald's flipping burgers, a lot of people think, don't put that in. No, I say put it in, right? And the reason I say put that in is because I worked at Arthur Andersen. The minute I plugged Arthur Andersen, I only worked there for 2 years. I did not play well in that corporate sandbox. Did not.
No, that's not a surprise.
Could not do it. I tried. They came to me and said, hey, we're going to give you a lot of money. A headhunter found me and said, we're going to give you a lot of money and come in and be a manager. No, it didn't work. But I still put it in there, even though I only lasted a year, because I don't care. It's like, hey, I went in, I tried, it didn't work, right? If you don't want to work with me because I only lasted a year at a company, it's your problem. But the biggest thing is that immediately connected me with 168,000 people.
Right.
And a bunch of those people I knew from working at the company all over the world, right? So you never know when one of those connections is going to make a difference. Right. So I think that's key, is getting somebody to look at it with a critical eye of why, right? It's the whys behind it. Why did you want to put in Arthur Andersen? Because there's connections there that could potentially lead to business. Why do you want to add volunteers? Because it basically shows that you care about other people, that you're involved in your community, that you're not just all me, you know?
Well, and volunteerism, it's one of my favorite sections to fill out, because it does show the well-rounded, hopefully, person, and it can show job skills and responsibilities and things like that might not show up in your other parts of your profile. But, it might be something that is very key to you. So, maybe, when you were volunteering for United Way, you did special event management. And, and so you're going to highlight it there. Plus, it is a way, we all know that know, like, trust. part of,
Right.
of building these relationships. And when we see things that other people have done as volunteers, it strikes a chord,
It gets from
and
that no to
yeah,
like.
yeah, whether you like it or not. It's funny. I'm a big volunteer supporter of the University of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had people from schools that, that don't like CU specifically say, hey, and I saw that in your profile. What about that football game? So it gives us that little connection. And in
Right.
fact, in my headline, I say loves college sports or something like that. I mean, it's mentioned in
Yep.
there, and people have told me we looked at your profile specifically because of that, because
Mm-hmm.
they like college sports.
Right.
And so it drew them in because they wanted to do that. And then I've got my stuff with our dog show clubs, all sorts of things. But yeah, it's a great way. And I tell people, especially if you are changing careers, that volunteer experience might be the absolute most critical part of somebody wanting to meet you.
Right. And so here we've just kind of established the reason that you want to have a third person go through it and look at it with a critical eye, because they're going to spot things that you may not even think about, right? That's number one. Okay. So Mr., Mrs., Miss, I don't know what else you call anybody else, listener, watcher, whatever. Now you've got your profile polished up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the key things that you have to make sure is that you have a company page.
Mm-hmm.
And that your personal profile is associated with that company page, right?
Yes.
You want to make sure, like I run
Mm-hmm.
B2b Interactive Marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I've created a company page for B2b Interactive
Mm-hmm.
Marketing. When I go to add my experience, it says B2b Interactive Marketing. Mm-hmm. Now you, as a company owner, want to
Mm-hmm.
call Deb a second time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what they want to do, Deb?
What?
They want to call you to do an audit of their company. And what they want to do is, once you've created that nice picture, and you've created that nice banner for them at the top, and you've kind of filled in what's there, and that the person that you've worked with says, okay, I get it now and I understand it. Now you want to look at everybody else who's working at the company.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you start is, and again, this is what Deb does for you, is you go look at the company page and see who's associated with it, right? So what do you find when you look at the company page? What do you find?
Well, hopefully you find a company page. I mean,
Yeah, right.
that is one of the big things. And and that's also tricky if it is a small organization that doesn't have one. If there's not one at all, you might set one up. I'm not telling you to, but you might want to do, but yeah, you want to look there. Say it is a company page, that company that does exist. You're going to look there for other people. You're going to look there to see if you have other connections with those people. It's about building that network.
Right.
And you also want to look, if you are the company, you want to make sure that the people that are tied into it, first of all, are really supposed to be there.
Right.
Maybe they weren't. And you want to make sure that they all have consistent messaging, especially if they're on the sales team, which is what you do. Because we get confused very easily, and so you want to make sure that they at least have the first little bit of Acme company does yada 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 yada, and it says that consistently on every single page, for every employee that you really cared about.
Exactly. And that's one of there are two reasons for this, and this gets to what I'm going to talk about when we dig a little deeper. So when Deb does an audit of your page, the things that she looks at is the person still working there? That's one of the first things you look at, because let's say somebody used to work for you and either, because of the pandemic and the Great Resignation, they left, their mom and they have to be home with their kids, and now they've gone to another company, right? If they're still associated with your page, but they ended up taking a job with a competitor, if somebody connects with them and say, oh yeah, I no longer work there, I work here, why don't you do business with us, right? That's the last thing that you want.
Right.
And the second one, like you said, is that consistency factor. And a lot of times what you find is a bunch of people without pictures, without headlines, with VP of sales, all those kind of things. You want to have that consistency. The reason is because somebody may be looking for what you do. So let's just say you sell hot dogs, right? And they've got a bunch of buns and they need hot dogs. Okay. So They know you work at that company, but they don't know what you do. So they go look up the company, and all of a sudden they're looking for you and saying, wait a minute, I know Jamie. And Jamie used to work with me at this other company. I'm going to contact Jamie and say, hey, Jamie, let's connect up, right? So it becomes another entry into your company. And that's the thing, is that if they have relationships with multiple people, it makes you go higher up the food chain, right? So having one of those audits done, auditing your own personal profile and making sure that you have a company audit done so that everything is consistent, everybody who works there has a profile, as many as you can, is uber important. So that's why I think that's the first thing they need to do, is contact you and do those two things, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So now you've got your whole LinkedIn profile set.
Right. And you're rocking it. You're great.
Right. You've got everything all set up. And now the big challenge, and this is the thing that I've learned over the course of time, is that most people don't log into LinkedIn enough. And so in order to make the tool work, you really do have to be an active participant. In other words, you have to go in and wish people a happy birthday. You have to go in, if somebody changes jobs, figure it out, congratulate them, go change them in your CRM. So one of the first things that I tell companies to do is I tell them to talk to their sales team and have their sales team with those clean new profiles, those spiffy new profiles that are all polished up and their hair's done, and go connect up with your current customers. And then after you connect with your current customers, now not everybody will connect with you, right? But you can try, right? But go find them, try to connect with them, right? And if they're not,
LinkedIn is where you want to do this,
right?
Connecting with your customers on the other social media platforms is a little iffy, maybe even a little dangerous, depending on how you post.
Yeah, that's the one thing about if you go to something like a Facebook or an Instagram, you're going to see a different side of your customer. Right. You don't need to know that. You shouldn't even care about it. No. What you care about is business, right? Just because somebody likes ketchup on their hot dog doesn't make them a bad person. That would be me. Yeah. Well, I grew up in New York. So you want to talk about it? I like ketchup on my hot dog. It's what I grew up.
And relish.
Yeah, see, I don't do the relish stuff, none of the green stuff. It's got to be red, So anyway, somebody hates me because I have ketchup, right? And that's the problem with the other things, is they're very emotionally driven, where LinkedIn doesn't do that. And if people do it and get a little wonky on there, I usually unfriend them anyways, because I don't have time for the drama. It's a no drama social media as compared to some of the others. But the key thing that you want to do is get your team to go connect up with all of your customers if possible. And the other thing too is, if they go connect up with your customer and your customer isn't on there, you might find other people in the organization, right? That you know. And if the person you're connecting up with left, then it's good to know that they left, right? You want to know that too, that the customer that you've been selling to, even though they've been consistently purchasing things, so some people, it's like you're on Amazon, you've got the toilet paper of the month club, and they ship you a little Northern, a little Scots, a little this and that kind of stuff. And you have that in your business, and that person has left, and you're still communicating with them, sending them messages, hey, how you doing, what's going on, and the email never gets answered. Maybe that's why, right? So it's good,
and that's what you were talking about at the very start. Because of the pandemic, all these people have moved around, and you want to find out, A, if they're still there, right? If they're not, where are they? Right. And C, I guess it would be, because I skipped B in there.
B is the supply chain. Can they give you what you need? That's the second one.
And the other would be, who might have taken their place?
Exactly. And can you connect up with that person at the other company and sell them, buy hot dogs from them there and say, hey,
I used to work with Brian. I understand Brian's not there any longer. Like to connect with you.
Right, exactly. So that's why you want to have your sales team connect up with your current customers. And we basically covered the second part, is you want to connect up with your past customers. Right? So go to the past customers, find out where they are, connect with them. They may not need you, but if you're connected, the thing about connecting is that in the algorithm sphere, all right, within LinkedIn, and there's no exacting number, because LinkedIn does not send you a secret formula or herbs and spices, right? But there's kind of a level after using this since 2014, which is now what? It's 22. Do the math. About 18 years. So after 18 years, I kind of got a sense of what's going on, and in there, one of the things that happens is if you're connected to 1,000 people, about 150 people will see your posts. I can tell you they won't see your business posts.
Right.
If you put it on your company page, if they're connected with your company page, that's fine. But most people don't connect up there.
Right.
Average company is about 250
Yeah, my company
people.
page has like 3.
Right. Yeah. Average big company, you're not Coke. Coke might get 25,000 or 100,000, but the smaller companies, mid-sized companies usually get about 250. And so if you post something in there, you're only talking to 250 people in their newsfeed, right? But I'm connected to like 5,000. And that sounds like a lot, but it's really not. I mean, you have a 30,000 limit, and I literally speak all over the country and go to conferences. And as soon as I finish, go to a meeting, I end up getting 4 or 5 requests anyways. And, stay in touch with those people. But the key thing that you want to do is that when you post content, only about 150 people are going to see them. So the more people your salespeople are connected to, the more people they're going to see it. That includes your current and past customers. Now, the last piece of this puzzle is prospects versus leads, right?
I know, but I'm going to sell you a whole bunch of leads, Brian.
Yes, exactly right. That's the whole point. They're going to sell you leads. You know what a lead is? It's a cold call. That's all it is. A lead is somebody who is breathing and may have a wallet, but you don't know where they're at in the buyer's journey. Everybody has a buyer's journey. Buyer's journey is 3 things: awareness, education, and sales, right? Somebody first gets to know you, that's awareness, right? You go meet somebody and you shake their hand, you meet them at a place, they know you, but you don't like them and they don't like you yet.
Right, because you don't know them. You haven't spent enough time with them.
Right, just like that guy that I talked about earlier. He never got to like me. He just got to know me and he immediately went right for the trust. He said, okay, I'm jumping over the like thing. I care if I like you or not. I just want you to promote me to your people. So just after this 5 minutes in this email, you should trust me enough to sell me to your customers.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to work. That's why I wanted to find out how it was working for him. And I probably know I wouldn't get the truth. But the reality of it is that, you need to go through that process. And the same thing with your customers. So a lead is a cold call. And if you did enough cold calls, you would get somebody that would eventually buy from you, right?
I mean, it's like what we used to do with direct marketing, with direct mail. You bought a zip code and you sent to everybody in that zip code.
Right.
Yeah, that was 30,000 leads, but there might have been 2 people in there that were actually going to buy your product or service.
Exactly. I mean, just use a HVAC company, right? What you're hoping for is that somebody's heater breaks down, right? If you send out 30,000, there's probably only 2 people in that 30,000. A, that doesn't already have somebody, and B, just happen to catch them at the right time where their furnace was going wonky, right? So you're spending, all this money to get 2 leads, and you're spending, say, $1,000 to send that out. The cost of acquisition is $500 a lead. And those leads may be that, okay, you come in and you give them a price and they go to 5 other people, and the next thing you know, you sold nothing. So a lead is not a sale, right? A lead is just the opportunity to talk to somebody when they have a problem. So the key thing about the buyer's journey is that nurturing process of know, like, and trust. Know, I got to know you, right? Like is we connect up on LinkedIn and you go look at my profile and I go look at your profile. It's like, wait, you work in a beagle club? I just got a dog. I want to talk to you about dogs. I love dogs. Let's talk about dogs. And you comment on my pictures of Layla carrying sticks. And, I always talk about Trax, your little beagle that's sitting behind you back there. And, so we have that thing in common. Now we're getting to like each other, right? It's like we have something in common. But you're not going to buy from me just because I like you and you like me, right? Because here's the problem is you don't have a need to buy anything from me right now, right? You've gone on this, 2022 came and you decided I'm going on a hot dog free diet, okay? So if I come to you and say, hey, Deb, how many hot dogs do you eat a week? And you say none. It's like, okay, you're gone. Let me go on to the next person. No, you don't do that.
No.
Because someday you may turn around and say,
I might eat hot dogs again.
It's summertime, right? We're going to grill. It's like, you know what? I tried that diet for a while. I lost some weight, but, I'm walking more. I can eat a hot dog. Hey, Brian, you sell buns. I want a bun. Can you sell me a bun? That's when. So the whole point of the buyer's journey is you got to catch them when they're ready to purchase.
Right.
That doesn't mean you only talk to people that are ready to purchase. You got to talk to people throughout that entire journey. Will everybody buy from you? No. But will you get more people who have been educated about your buns come from the purest of grains. They actually have vitamins infused in them from nature and not the injected kind. It tastes better. They're microwavable and they taste fantastic. They will make your hot dog more nutritious and just better and a better experience for your life.
And I'm going to tell my friends, oh my gosh.
Right.
Next time you have a picnic.
Right. Now, granted, my bun is about 50 cents more per package.
Right.
But the experience you get, it is so much more worth it. Now, you're getting educated about this. Like, wait a minute, they have better, more nutritious buns. Maybe I should give them a try, right? You're willing to absorb that information because you like me.
Right.
So
and I know you've got a cute dog and this and that. And you know, we've built up that relationship.
Exactly, right. So then, you know, when the time comes, if you decide to buy hot dog buns, I might be the person that you talk to. So that's kind of the whole know, like, and trust, you know, journey. Once you get that customer, then it's up to you and your team to take care of the other things, which is retention and advocacy, right? Retention is keeping them, getting them to, you know, order the bun of the month club. And then, you know, getting them to tell their friends, you know, hey, if you like my buns so much, if you get 10 people to buy my buns, I'm going to give you a free pack of buns for every, you know, 10 people to buy it. So however you do that, that's part of the process. But that's essentially what LinkedIn can do for you.
Right.
So now you've gotten through that buyer's journey. And so now you've gotten your sales team, you've got their profiles looking good, right? Now you've got them connecting up with their current and past customers. And as a prospect comes in, right, they get to know people, they're entering them in the system, right? They're connecting up with the prospects. I meet somebody at a place and it's like, okay, this person, you know, if they're a vegetarian and you know they will never change, you know, food sustenance, then you don't enter them in your CRM. Right. Or maybe you keep in touch with them because they're, you know, they happen to be a vegetarian.
Well, you might have discovered they're the head of the PTA.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
The PTA is going to have a bunch of picnics. So.
Right. So the bottom line is what you want to do is you want to focus on that niche of people, right? Now, if every salesperson has 150 of them, in one way, shape, or form, if every salesperson has 150 people that they communicate with, you know, amplify that by the number of salespeople that you have, right?
Right.
So now let's just say you've got 10 salespeople for the sake of argument. Make the number simple. Each one of them has 150 they're communicating with. Now you have the opportunity to reach 1,500 people.
Right.
If those 1,500 people who the sales team is reaching out to is commenting and liking and sharing and doing things on the content that you're putting out there, then now you have the opportunity to amplify it by 10 because everybody who engages, 10 of their friends are going to see it, right? So now we're reaching 15,000 people from your sales team from that 150 that each person has put together. So it starts with you. It goes to your team, getting your team involved. And keep in mind, it doesn't have to be just salespeople. It could be customer service. It could be your HR person. It could be anybody in the team. But now you've got them all engaged. Now, one of the things that I've learned over the course of time is that if I hand you as a salesperson, say, okay, I created this great content, all right? It's basically going to talk about the health benefit of our buns. I want you to go on LinkedIn and post this content. How many of those 10 people do you think would do it?
It depends. If they have to start from scratch, probably none.
Right. But even if you present it to them, right? On average, it's the 80-20 rule. About 2 out of those 10 people would do it.
Yep.
Right? And how many of those 2 out of 10 people would do it consistently every single week?
Maybe 1.
Yeah, none, usually. It's rare that somebody has the consistency to do it because most people aren't that, you know, that they just are not that habitual.
Right.
And they get busy and there's all kinds of other things going on.
Well, and we want to see results.
Right.
And a lot of times you don't, especially not at the start.
Right.
You know, and so, yeah, so they're like, well, this didn't work. Squirrel.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's what's happened. I mean, I've trained some really big companies where I go into them and I actually show their sales team and the sales teams are made up usually of 2 different camps. I call them 2 different camps. There's usually more, but you know, camp A is the millennials going, oh, cool new widget, man. You could do that with this program. That's awesome, man. Oh, look at that. You can grab, oh, cool. I'm going to go do it. And they do it for 2 weeks and then they stop.
Right.
They get
because
no results. Right. Well, they get no results. They're not seeing any results. So you're not going to get results in 2 weeks.
Right.
Right. This is a long-term process. I mean, B2B sales on average, minimum 90 days. That's if somebody's in a panic mode, by the time you get a PO and everything else. And it could be upwards of 2 to 4 years. So, and then the older group is, oh, this is interesting. I didn't know you could do that with LinkedIn. And they go back and they start, working on their Palm Pilot and sending up smoke signals because that's the way they
Their
communicate.
BlackBerry, which no longer works anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, but that's so, you get these people that try for a while, you get these people say it's really cool and do nothing, right? So how do we solve that problem? You've gone through the process. Your profile's set up right. They're doing well. So the thing you have to do is, number one, you have to create the information for them. We've already established that. Okay. So that means you have to create great information. And it has to be customer focused, right? So you don't, again, if you write the information, it's going to look pretty much the same as if, your profile, if you did your own profile. You want to get a second set of eyes on that to write it from the customer's perspective, like I did with that ebook. You send it out to a bunch of people, get their feedback, and then, make it so that it resonates with them. The second piece is you have to find a way to automate it in one way, shape, or form to get it on everybody's profile for them. The cool thing about that is if you can get somebody to give you permission to use their profile, they are working for you, and not everybody will do it. But I would say usually, again, 80% of the teams that I work with, there's about 20%, no, you can't use my profile, but the other 80% do. Well, guess what? All right. If you do that, you've got 10 people sending out the same message at the same time. A lot of people say, well, isn't that flooding and automating things? No, because everybody's going to have a unique 150 people which will see it.
Yeah, you're not going to have too many that overlap.
Right. And now you're amplifying that content. What happens is if you post it on your sales team's profile and somebody sees it, they may send your salesperson a direct message. They may go in and look up their profile, look at it and say, whoa, wait a minute here. Look at this. Okay. Hey, tell me more about those buns. That direct message that they send them sends the salesperson an email saying you have a new message on LinkedIn. And they have to go log into LinkedIn and go check it. So it basically creates this feedback loop of getting people to use LinkedIn for sales. So that's essentially, everything in a nutshell.
I want to talk about one of the other things that it's new to me. It's not new in the LinkedIn world, but fairly new that you turned me on to, and that's newsletters.
Yes.
I think that's a great way to get content out there. And it's it was what you have told me for several months, hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to do this. And I'm like, yeah. And then I finally did it. And the cool thing about LinkedIn newsletters is people subscribe.
Right.
And when they subscribe, see, I've been paying attention to you. When you put out a new edition, LinkedIn sends them an email.
Right.
So they get that content in their email. So you're not relying on it appearing in their news feed. They're getting an email. And so, like I said, I paid attention and I set one up. I set one up for this podcast. And so and I've done it a whopping 2 times, and 2 weeks in a row. I'm going good. I mean, I'm getting there, but I've been consistent. I haven't missed any time. And it's simple. I mean, I created the image for it, and then it's a bit of information about the 2 guests for the week. And then of course it links to those interviews.
Right.
I send that out. And like I said, I've done it twice. I'm looking right now on LinkedIn. I have 561 subscribers.
In 2 weeks.
Where's my button?
Yes.
Now,
exactly.
Granted, it's not monetized, but it is getting people to go, hopefully, to the podcast.
Hey, Deb.
And
that was easy.
Yeah, I love it. We love our buttons, right? And it took a little bit of time to actually figure out how to do it. But once you know how to do it, it's very, very easy. It takes me 5 minutes to do it. And so that's a great way. And so if you have, content like that your sales team, your marketing team, whoever can be sending out, like we said, it goes to people's email.
Right.
They wanted it. So you're not spamming them. They can unsubscribe, and it's just like any other thing. And then they don't see it. But yeah, I mean, I'm blown away. 561, and I've only done 2.
Right. And there's multiple benefits to this. So let me put a couple caveats on it. For the bigger companies, it's harder because you don't want, everybody putting out their own, creating their own newsletter. For solopreneurs and smaller companies, it's huge, right? And the reason it's huge, now a business, if they have enough business followers, they're bigger, they can do it on their business page.
Right.
But for us, as a solopreneur, you're a solopreneur, or small business, you do it as the owner, you want to do it. So let me give you a couple of things that happen. Number one, I do a weekly podcast, right? My Bacon podcast. And I take that Bacon podcast and I have it transcribed and I turn it into a blog. And then I hand it to a virtual assistant and she basically makes the blog all pretty, make sure the I's are crossed and the T's are dotted and all those things. Because I'm Captain Typo, and she goes through and fixes it and makes sure my English, put the right emphasis on the right syllable and all that fun stuff. And then she takes that and publishes it on my blog. But then she copies that and immediately goes to LinkedIn and puts it up on LinkedIn. So now I've got the same piece of content in two different places, right? I'm utilizing content better. I have over 1,000 subscribers on mine right now. When it sends out that email, it comes directly from LinkedIn. It doesn't come from B2b Interactive Marketing, which is my company.
And so you pay attention.
Well, number one, it's got higher deliverability because the spam filters in Gmail and Yahoo and in AOL, believe it, there's a lot of people still using AOL email out there. The spam filter sees something coming from LinkedIn as more deliverable.
Right.
So your message
it's real content.
Right. It's real content. The other thing about it is that not only does it go out via email, but it also goes into people's newsfeed because they're promoting these more, right? So if you're going to do it, the two things that you have to make sure that you do is A, have a purpose behind it, and B, make sure that you're consistent with it. You don't want to do a newsletter this week and then wait 4 weeks and then, because what you're going to end up with is a bunch of people that will join in and then unsubscribe because it's so random.
They're like, what was this?
Right. But every Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock, Julie puts it in, makes it live, and boom, everybody gets an email by 8 a.m. every Tuesday. Boom, consistently. The other thing that you want to do with this is you want to make sure, and the cool thing about the people that are subscribing to it, you go look at that list, and if you go look at it now, you will see there's a bunch of first-level subscribers.
Right.
There's some second-level subscribers, and a bunch of thirds.
Yeah.
Right? It's people that somehow or another, some of that information shows up in their newsfeed, or somebody recommended it, or something. Now your message is getting out to a much wider audience, and usually it's very targeted towards what you do because it's talking about you and your business.
Right.
All right? The other thing that you want to make sure is within that email that there is a call to action. Inside of that post, there is a call to action to do something. What I tell people to do is go download my ebook. So what I've done, and this kind of brings the whole system together. I create an ebook, and if you want to get the ebook, it's at b2b-im.com/ebook. It's that simple. b2b-im.com.
And it's great. It's 23 pages or something like that.
Thank you.
Easy, quick read, great information.
It's a kid's picture book with a little bit of text in it. Really, that's what it is. But it's got some good information in there. But the bottom line is I created that. So what I did is I had my VA chop it up into 4 or 5 blogs, right? What did that give me? They gave me a month's worth of content, right? So every single week, just one of those chapters goes into that email. And inside of that email or newsletter inside of LinkedIn is a button to download my ebook. What it does is when somebody clicks that, they give me their information on my website in order to get that ebook, right? So in yours, if you're not putting in a banner ad that says download my podcasting ebook or download my LinkedIn C-suite tips, you got to you can alternate it every single week if you want to, but make sure you're doing that to collect the names, because what you're going to do is you're going to target people that are interested in what's going on. And you could do that same thing, and that's the same philosophy I use since we can't do it with the bigger companies, right? What we do is we make sure that at least the content that the salespeople are putting up are blog posts on a web page. And so they're putting up blog posts, and in the middle of that blog post, the little button that says download this ebook or download our catalog or click here for this special report or whatever it is. And then if they click on that, guess what? You get their name, and now the salesperson can start to have a conversation with those people. So it's basically a closed loop data capture thing. And that's really what it's all about.
And And that I had to write down, I had to make a note, because in mine, I link to the 2 podcasts so they can listen to those, but I didn't have a button. And I do have an ebook. I have an ebook on, for this subject, I have an ebook on, do you want to be on a podcast? And it talks about, the how to do all of that, simple, basic things, but yeah, so I need to put that call to action on there. Silly me. I've only been doing marketing how many years?
Yeah, but that's why you talk to me a lot, because I come in with those last little nuggets. Right. And again, this is why marketing for yourself is the hardest thing in the world.
Right.
It's so hard to remember all these details.
Yeah, all those trees. We're getting lost in the forest.
We're going back to that original thing, and that's why I've got such a good team that's working with me that kind of dots my I's and crosses my T's. I mean, I actually hired a project manager this year just because I've got so many things going on. I mean, when I create ebooks, when I do this for my clients, right, I've got this whole team. The first one is a writer. So the writer comes in, we interview the client. The client then gives us the information. The writer goes back and writes the ebook. Then when they're finished with the ebook, it goes to a designer, and then they tell the writer, okay, now take that information and make me 5 blogs, right? So then the designer comes back, gives me the ebooks. We got these 5 blogs. I hand them to my web person, who puts the blogs in and grabs the images from the ebook so that the ebook and the blogs match up, right? And then I've got an email person that does email drips based on each one of those blog posts. So when you download the ebook, it says, hey, by the way, go check out this blog, right? Because a lot of people download an ebook and never read it. But if I can get them back to the blog, they can do one of 2 things: read that and fill out a form, or maybe download the ebook again, right? And then it goes to a regular email person who sets up weekly emails that says, hey, here's this week's blog post. And then there's a integration person that takes the data from the website that's captured and puts it in the client's CRM or ERP. So there's a whole team and a whole structure that goes through all of this stuff. But, doing that for yourself, just remembering to put a button on a Facebook newsletter is tough, because it's just one of those things that you just don't think about. But now you can hand it to your VA who does this and say, okay, one of the things I want you to do is, here's 2 buttons, alternate them every other week, one for the podcast, one for the C-suite. Do those things. Now you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right. And it's we cover so much ground in these chats. But one of the things that we're talking about, it's good to have an ebook. And then, as you said, and then you've got all this content, and I'm guessing many of our folks just went, because they don't know how to even get started, how to do that. So how, for people who are going, okay, Brian, I know I should have an ebook because I need that call to action, and then I'm supposed to follow up, and what do you tell them?
Well, first and foremost, there's got to be a business case behind doing it, and there's got to be a need on the audience to want it.
Yeah, you're not just writing content to write content.
Right. I'll give you a clear-cut example of what here's the way that I do it, and that is, I basically as I said, I interview people to capture that content. That's the biggest thing, is I need to talk to them and try to listen to them as if I'm a client. So that's one of the first things I suggest you do, is get a writer to help you, right? Get somebody who is going to be able to hear you from a different perspective and create that content. Bottom line is, if you're going to do an ebook, pay for it. You can do it for free. Anybody can go buy an ebook template and slap some text in there. But it's going back to what we talked about, seeing the forest from the trees. So creating an ebook is that one step, but then creating the rest of the system, the ecosystem that goes around it, is really what makes the ebook work. And let's go back to you and me. One of the things I've done in my business is I interview a lot of people, right? Well, now this year I've started to interview authors. One of the biggest challenges with authors, they have a book. The main thing they want to do with their book is sell clients, right? They don't necessarily want to sell books. We know how rich we get on books.
We're not James Patterson here.
Right. So what they want to do is talk to their perfect clients. But the problem is that when somebody puts an ebook up on Amazon, you don't know who buys it.
Right.
If Simon and Schuster puts it in a bookstore, you don't know who buys it. So by creating an ebook around your own book, right, is something that I do for those people. Is I interview them and I ask them the questions that basically are the chapters of the ebook. And then I take that and transcribe it, hand it to a writer and write it for them and hand them back the ebook. But the rest of the system has to be in place, right? Somebody's got to be able to download it. You need to capture the information. You need to promote it via email and social media and all those other things. So that's the system that I put together that helps people get the information out. If somebody downloads your ebook, send them the book for free, because chances are they're interested in what you have to say.
Right.
That's it. So now you use your book as a basically a loss leader, but you've captured their name. Now you can start that know, like, and trust process with them.
Right.
They may end up liking ketchup on their hot dog.
You never know. You never know.
Right.
And you do have a great new ebook. It's called Does Your Sales Engine Need a Turbocharge for 2022? And my guess is most people are going to go, yeah.
Sure.
So again, tell us, how do they get that ebook?
Well, the easiest way to get the ebook is go to b2b-im.com/ebook. But let me give you a better way. Go to linktr.ee, which is short for Linktree. Just think Linktree. So it's linktr.ee/bacon guy. If you go to that URL, you will get everything for me. You'll get a link to the ebook. You'll get my LinkedIn. You'll get my Facebook. You'll get everything that I have, every social media link. And if you want to connect with me, it's the best way to do it if you want to have a convo. But the bottom line is you can get the book there too.
Right. And that's a good tip for folks. If you have multiple social media sites, maybe multiple websites, things like that, and it has been over 2 years since I have handed my business card to someone. But if you've got all that information, you can set up an account and it just, pop it out to them and say, okay, here's all the ways to connect with me.
Yep. The only caveat I'm going to give everybody with Linktree is don't use it on Facebook, because Facebook says,
it says, you're cheating.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't put in hyperlinks it's basically a masked hyperlink. And what it does is it gives you links to links, and they don't like that.
Right.
But you know what? Who doesn't mind it?
LinkedIn.
There you go.
Right, because LinkedIn knows that's how people are making connections.
Right.
Well,
LinkedIn is in a completely different business model. LinkedIn wants to get people to spend time on their site because they make their money from jobs, right? Facebook, Instagram, a lot of the other social media make their money from ads. LinkedIn only makes about 5% of its income from ads. The vast majority of the money they make is from jobs.
Right.
So they don't care. As long as people are logging in and they're connecting and they're doing things, when somebody needs a job, it's the go-to place. So that's why they promote that kind of stuff. As opposed to Facebook, which says, no, you can't hide a link because you may be doing something that we could sell an ad to, and you can't do that.
Right. You might be going off our site. Oh, gasp.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yes. Wait, let me show you something that you're going to hate and argue with.
I know. Or I love their ads. I'm like, what on earth did I do to deserve to get that ad? I mean, every once in a while, they just totally perplex me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get a lot of... I put up a graphic the other day. It's like I went and looked at one thing, and all of a sudden it was like... I think I looked at it was a digital business card. I remember it. It was... I saw it, and it looked kind of cool, and I said, okay, how does this work? What do they do? Well, for $150, you get a business card you can put on an iPhone.
Right.
Okay? And then they keep everything, and it gives you the connections, the whole 9 yards. And it was like, okay, that's cool, but I'm not going to spend $150 without meeting anybody. The next thing you know, every digital business card ad in Facebook was like one right after the other. It was like Santa Claus is all jumping on the pile. And that was my, so that drove me nuts.
Well, and now I cheat. We're getting ready to go on vacation in several weeks. And so I'll type in once the location, and then, that'll just start appearing. So cool. Well, oh my gosh, Brian, once again, absolutely fabulous chatting with you. Again, tell people what you do and how they connect with you. Make sure that you get that out there.
Well, the easiest way to figure out what I do is go download the ebook, because it'll explain it. And so, but I work with B2b companies and basically help, I spark their marketing to get their sales team to have better conversations with their end users. So go to Linktree, linktr.ee/bacon guy. All my contact info is there. Get the ebook. You'll get a good sense of what I do and how I do it. And the rest is history. And Deb, thank you so much for having me on again.
I love it. We always have such great conversation. I tell people, they say, why do you do a podcast? And I say, because I learn every single time. I have written 10 different things down just from our chat. And I mean, like the biggest one is, silly person, you need to put the call to action on your LinkedIn newsletter. And so, and now of course I have to expand and have more newsletters, but baby steps. And so it's just, we always do have great conversation. People tell me that they love it when you're on because you share such great content.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. And it's always fun. I love chatting with you.
Oh, yeah. Well, this has been a great time. I've been having a fantastic time talking with Brian Basilico. I'm Deb Creer, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.